morning, everyone. So I think, as usual, that was a inspiring and rousing welcome by Dr. Batra, as we see at all our events. We've got a great panel here today. Uh, and we were just talking about before we came into the room that how, Dr. Batra also mentioned that it's the funding winter. So obviously, India remains a bright spot, but as the funding winter sets in, the focus has shifted to profitability, right? How do we build businesses that balance valuation with profitability? And with the global recession coming in, yesterday we were at the session of our sister company, Realty Plus, and we were talking about how recession is just going to graze India. It's not really going to impact us, but it will have certain course correction related impact on the country. So, very interesting article yesterday in the news, which talked about how unicorns are no longer the favorite of investor. It's cockroaches, right? So we talk about the last mass level extinction event that wiped out the dinosaurs, and only the cockroaches remain. So I think the focus is now shifting on who can survive and create that balance between valuation and profitability. So I think before we kind of start delving deeper into that, let's just go around the panel. I think it'll be great if the panelists can just introduce themselves, how they got into the business, what they love about it, and just an overview of how they're looking to create that path to profitability, the balance between profitability and valuation. So let's just go around the table.
So, hi everyone, I'm Vishesh Khurana. I'm one of the co-founders at Shiprocket. Shiprocket is basically a logistics operating system. We primarily manage the entire aspect of supply chain that happens post-checkout, starting with your warehousing, pick, pack, ship, and tracking and post-tracking communications. So yeah, and I think we started the company back in 2012. So we are 10 years in and seen a couple of similar cycles. So yeah, happy to share a couple of our learnings as well. Thank you.
Right. Good morning, folks. So there's a whole bunch of founders here, a lot of companies being created. But if you really think about it, you create these products, create these platforms, create these solutions, but then how do you take it to market? How do you sort of communicate with customers? That's what Zensciences does. We are a B2B services marketing company. Currently India's largest independent agency. We focus specifically on B2B services for a very global audience and helping these companies go to market. It's been 7 years for me and my business partner in this. We have, so I was heading brand at an IT services company before this. It's been a good 7-year run, and the funding winter, we'll talk about all of that. It's going to be a good session today. Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting us.
Hey, hi, I'm Gaurav. Thanks for having me. I'm the founder and CEO of this brand called Toprankers. So we are solving for this problem. I was speaking to Mr. Batra. He told me he has a friend. He's writing on spirituality and astrology. He's a computer science BTech engineer. Same, I'm a computer science BTech. We realized in India everybody is doing engineering and medicine, and then they realize what they want to do in their career. So this is what we kept as a theme for the platform. The platform is for careers beyond medicine and engineering. That if a student don't want to pursue that as a career, whatever options they can pursue after that, we're kind of solving for them, helping student to discover a career, then helping him to prep to get into a right college, and in stage 3, helping him to find a job. So a full stack career platform is what we are building. Thank you, guys.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Mayank Kukreja, and I'm the founder of Itilite. Itilite is a platform for businesses to manage their business travel and reimbursements. This comes from personal pain. I was a consultant with McKinsey for about 5 years. Very rich company, but still with that company, we used to call up our travel desk to book travel. I lived through that for 5 years, traveling 200 days in a year, helping companies optimize costs and looking at travel and reimbursements. That was the personal pain, which said that when I book my personal travel, I just go online and book it. In business travel, why do we still need such manual processes? And that led to the start of Itilite. It's been a little over 5 years now. We have presence in India and US and a 300+ people team. Going good, and we'll definitely talk about funding winter. My friend sitting right next to me has just raised funding in EdTech right now. We as a business in travel raised funding just before and after COVID. So I can talk about what does funding winter really means.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Pratik, Gauri, founder and CEO at Fire. So we are the world's first sustainable blockchain, India's 105th unicorn, about 15 months old. So one of the fastest growing companies in the Web3 and blockchain space. We have a suite of products to bring Web2 to Web3 and trying to position India as the epicenter of a Web3 sustainable revolution. Love to speak with fellow panelists on funding winters because we also just completed the 100 million round in the winters. So yeah, thank you for having me.
So thanks everyone. So I think the funding winter seems to have either hit a raw nerve or it seems to have kind of caught everybody's fancy in terms of saying that we are deluded. Right? So I think we'll figure that out, right? But interesting point about finding alternate careers. It's fairly late for us, but I think one big challenge there might be how do you convince parents, right? So parents who want their kids to just be engineers or doctors, right? How do you convince them? Is there we'll get to the panel discussion, but that's a raw nerve for me. So I I need to kind of ask you that. So I mean, quick anecdote for the room, right? So how do you convince parents?
So I think we did not to convince any parents. What is happening in this country is a lot of new rules which have come in. Look at a role like you, right? So look at a role like what Mr. Batra is doing. So these roles are now successful, and students generally aspire for successful roles. So they look up to them, they look at those roles, they feel that, oh, I want to become a banker, I want to become a lawyer, a digital marketer, a lot of these things. So I think it's mostly coming from those students. We're just helping them to find a path. And these days, I think, like many parents whom we have spoken to, they're not looking for any income coming in the family as soon as their son graduates or they find a job, right? So they're saying that you do whatever you want to do for yourself, we have enough for ourselves, right? I think that's also one of the reason at this.
Sure, sure. So I think for Dr. Batra and me both, that's like a misnomer because both of us did the straight path, right? Engineer and MBA, straight out without a break. So I think anyway. So I think let's stick with Pratik for a moment, right? So I think when we talk about the funding winter, you've raised money and so have your co-panelists. Do you see conditions, pressures that are coming from investors, from the market, in terms of focus on profitability, and do you see changing metrics now, right? Although you're just 15 months old, but even in that period, have you seen metrics changing and expectations changing?
Yeah, so I mean, specific to if you were to talk about a year back, right, and a year and a half back, we were in a bull market. If I talk specifically to blockchain, it was a insane bull market. A lot of my friends were able to raise 5-10 million without any product. Like it was very easy to raise money. Now is the time when even to raise $5 million is hard. But provided you don't have a path to profitability, you don't have a line of sight to the kind of product you're building. And specifically in the blockchain space, we talk a lot about research, innovation, and white papers. So if you don't have all of that, I think it's become harder and harder, which is good for this space. But if you have those three, right, if you have a good research in place, I mean, you're building something innovative because Web3 is new. Second, if you have good technology, and third, if you have that and if you have adoption, right? So if you've built a product, like I think Anurag sir was talking about, there will be a lot of products coming in the Web3 space, right? If you've built a product and you can somehow manage to do get adoption and people to adopt your product, then of course revenue and profitability will follow, because blockchain in itself is a profitable sector provided your product is adopted. We're talking pretty high margins in the space, so let's not get there. But so if you hit those three metrics, and that's what we set out to hit. So we started with building something which should be innovative, so different than what others have built. So we said we're going to be the world's first sustainable blockchain, for instance. So we hit the research pillar, an innovative pillar. Second was, how do you translate? So FIRE as a name, right? It stands for the fifth industrial revolution. So we're moving the world from for-profit economy to a for-benefit economy, trying to impact 1 billion plus people, e-rupee coming in, a lot of the stuff. We tried to build a suite of products which match all of that. But after you do it and after you start building a product, it's taken, so we just launched our testnet actually today. It's taken us 1.5 years to actually build what we've built. Then after that, we know we already started getting adoption. So we are partners to Indian government, American government, Nigerian government. We already started getting those. Now, when you hit those three, then if you have those three in any, not just any company, then I think it's become easier than ever to raise money, because now there are very few players in the market. Specifically, if you talk, I don't know if you've been following the crashes that happened, FTX crash happened, Luna crash happened, people lost so much money in it. And that's now given more skepticism in a way that if you don't have something like, they call it a proof of reserve, right, to specific to an exchange. But if in a product side, I would like to say, until you have those three, it's become almost impossible to raise money. But if you have those three, and I'm sure it happens to sectors that these people operate, if you have those three, it's become easier than ever to raise money. In fact, now, like,
metrics in place is always the right thing to do, because it's what helps you tide over the hardest times. So I think we'll come to Vishesh for a moment, right? So in the logistics business, right, like with the travel business, there have been momentous events in the last few years. GST came in, and then of course COVID has changed a lot of perspectives. But now with recession slash funding winter, etc., a lot of it is also news cycles and media, right? We are also responsible for part of it. What's the changes that you're seeing in terms of how the business operates and how you see yourself evolving over the next couple of years, as, like I said initially, the balance between valuation and profitability comes in?
From our point of view, yes, like you said, we have seen a couple of cycles in logistics as a theme, starting with GST, which almost made a lot of things easier. Then COVID, where there was a time when the first lockdown hit, even online was shut, and the knee-jerk reaction from the entire side of board and everyone else was, it's not coming back as fast as we hope. We will hope, because it's uncertain. You don't know. So you should go into layoffs and everything else. And even at that moment, I think there was one, let's say, gut feeling or whatever we call it in today's time. We thought that it's not, the first thing that's going to come back after lockdown was online movement of retail. And we stick to our team. We were a 1,000-member team. We took that call. The second the lockdown was eased out, the first thing that came was online shopping, and we saw tremendous growth. With no one, entire supply chain industry could not have planned for that kind of incoming demand. The people were not there, warehouses were not there, supply chain was not prepared. At our pre-COVID times, we used to have 200, 300 leads a day. The second that ease of lockdown changed, we were getting almost 7,000 leads a day. No one could have ever planned that kind of leads. So how do you plan for that, and how do you stay the courses? I think we have always kept one rule as a organization, and one that is also coming from experiences of our own near-death experiences. In our journey, we have had multiple pivots. We balancing, and there are multiple metrics people can look at. We said there will be never a time in our journey as a company that we are depending on external capital to pay salaries. Let's keep that straight. So every time, that's our primary metric. So that could be called break even or anything else, but we will never depend on external capital for salaries. External capital is only for experiments and growth, but never to, till that balance is maintained, you're good. Balance between valuations, it took us 10 years to be where we are. We could have done it quicker because there were always opportunities. There still are, even in the funding winter stage, there are still opportunities. But valuation is something that you'll have to catch up to always. If you keep playing the catch up, you will make bad decisions, because now you are trying to just grow too fast, which is not sustainable. That's where we never did that. We always had offers. We have turned down term sheets. We still do. It was not the valuation that we were chasing. We were chasing a very, very sustainable, fundamentally generational business, as we call them. Yeah, businesses, long-term businesses are generational businesses, which you can pass on. And you look at those businesses which are very, very old. For us, it was not a 5-year, 1 billion unicorn exit journey. It was always about a business that's going to stay for the next 50 years and going to pass on.
So I think great insights there, and I think very interesting, to have built a business that's focused on sustainable growth and has balanced that with valuation. So Rohit, you of course are in a data-driven domain, right? So for you, while some things remain the same, but some things are very different, right? So how do you see what's happening around you, and how do you see your future evolving in terms of metrics, in terms of valuation, in terms of profitability?
The funny thing is, you were talking about travel, being one of the first things that cut off. The other head that gets cut off is marketing, right? So that's the reality of it. So most CEOs will say, stop travel and stop marketing. But then companies like us, and we work with right from Fortune 1 onwards to pretty much a lot of the Fortune companies. And the interesting thing is, we have noticed that the funding winters, the noise in the market, the wars and the conflicts that we're seeing, the layoffs that we're seeing, these are news, really. But these are not things that we can control, right? There is something called an input parameter. What can you control? What you can control is, I think, what he correctly said: focus on your business, focus on the fundamentals, right? Focus on the people. What kind of cultures are you driving? Valuation will come if you sort of focus on those. If you're able to build people, culture, if you're able to keep your core team strong, your minus ones and minus two strong, middle management has always been seen as problematic. If you're able to keep people like in that level happy, fundamentals will remain strong. Valuation follows, investors will follow that. I think what we've seen is, irrespective of what is out there, what is news out there, the layoffs and all of that, if you sort of focus on building, I think generational business is phenomenal. But if you're also able to focus on building a very, don't go after the profitability of it, generate value. And I mean the difference between growth and scale, right? It's very important that we understand that the fundamental difference between both these two terms. So we're able to generate scale rather than just running after growth. I think that's the way we've advised our customers, and it's done really well for them as well.
And makes a lot of sense. I think the whole point about value rather than profit, right? I think profit will follow if you build sustainable value, right? So I think coming back to the education domain, because you're not really edtech in terms of delivery, right? So are you seeing a differentiation? See, because post COVID now, obviously people want to go back to physical interactions as we are, and we are hearing a lot of concerns in the edtech space, right? Since you're funneling people out to the business, are you seeing specific gravitational shifts there, or is it something that's remained balanced, and how is it going to affect your business and your growth?
So pre-pandemic, edtech was about 15% of the market, and say the offline world was about 85%. We all know during pandemic everything moved online, so we're 100%. But I think companies should know, and they should kind of don't make big bets on the conditioning that we will stay 100% online, right? So I think we took some fundamental measures where during this pandemic, during end of the pandemic, we have started moving offline. So we have started about 6 centers, 6 offline centers. Right now we're at a stage, this year we should be closing at about 65% online and about 35% offline. We see this to be moving at about 40-45% online and about 50-55% offline. So there's a lot of prep which we have done with respect to, and it's very different, right? While you teach a student online versus you do it offline, right? So a lot of learnings we had as part of this entire process. First time we got to know the costs which we need to occur at real estate, those advances, and doing interiors we have never done in our lives. But yeah, this is the first time we are learning that. And I think, yeah, so I think that is helping us. I think we don't see a challenge again growing. So as a company, we have been growing more than 100% year on year. This year, now only thing is that your delta is changing, right? So when you grow from 10 to 20, 20 to 40, now, so suppose this year we are going another 50 crores extra, right? So delta changes, you need to do things differently. And I think I agree to a lot of the points what you were saying around what do you do for that? How do you kind of manage your team? What culture you are building for that? And I think around that, so we are cockroaches, right? So so now let's see when these cockroaches come out. These cockroaches come out when party is over, right? So now party is over, which means that you will not get funded just like that, by just having a business plan, by just giving up, throwing up some numbers, but you will still get food. So now, and when do you get food in this process? So if your unit economics are right, different North Star metrics everybody follows. For us, I think the most important metric which we track right now is success of a student. If in education business, if a student is successful, I don't think so you need to do a lot of marketing. So I think one is a success of student, and at what cost. So we have defined that student should be successful at about 20 to 23% of our revenues. So that's a direct cost which we need to spend to make it success. And I think rest everything follows. Yeah, so I think that's how it is helping us and we're growing.
Excellent. So I think we have to be mindful of the time, and Chetan always comes into the field of vision when that's happening. So I think great perspectives from all of you. Thank you for your time, especially the guys who came from Bangalore, because I think it was like a double or triple trip for you guys. But thank you for being here. Before we wrap up, if any questions from the audience for the panel, we'll quickly halt for that. Otherwise, we'll wrap up. Yeah, so I think the Delhi winter is kind of keeping people lazy. So thank you, panelists. Appreciate you taking the time and giving us these insights. Thank you. Bye.